Hi y'all, today I want to talk about a suggestion I have to improve off hours in PlanetSide. So, for those of you who are simply unaware, off hours is just considered any time out of prime time. In other words, usually between, say, 12 p.m. at midnight to about 3 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon on any given server. Of course, off hours is more predominant on some servers rather than others, such as Connery, where it is quite common, and off hours is generally not a fun time to play in, because it usually just results in this. You open your sanctuary, you go to sanctuary, you hit your warp gate, you see what con it's open. You pray to God it's Hossin for Nascents, or maybe you want Indar, whatever. It's not. So, well, shit. So if you're on Osher, you just log out, because Osher off hours is terrible. If you're on Esamir, oh joy, you're probably fighting at Sero, like I am here. And this is not going to be a very good time either. I'm sure this fight is terrible, especially if you're NC and you have to try and somehow work a push from Echo Valley. Or if you're Vanu and you probably have to work a push from Isa. And there's nowhere else to go, other than one probably quite bad fight in the middle of the map. So, no matter what you do here, you're probably not going to have a very good time because, well, quite frankly, the fights here are just not fun. It's probably a very unbalanced fight. Hell, looking at the pop chart, it is a very unbalanced fight. And honestly, looking at this, I just want to log out, because there's one fight, it's not that good, why would I play? So, and for other content like Osher, I don't even care if it's a good fight, I just log out. I will generally log out on Amrish, I would generally log out on Indar, Hossins I will only stay for Nascents. Like, off hours is just not a very pleasant time to play in, because outside of one big shitty fight in the middle, you just have a bunch of tiny 1 to 12 fights at, like, terrible bases, or you just have no pops, so they're extremely boring to play. So, last night on stream, I was thinking, how can we solve this problem? Because unstable gates were, the attempt at doing so where, you force fights down to 1 or 2 bases. But then you just end up fighting at the same bases every time, and they're usually not very good unless they're called Nascent's Defiance, and even then, that's just a good farm. So, that got me thinking again, well, how do we solve this problem without completely overhauling the center of each map? And, well, the simple answer is, there's 3 unused minor continents in the game. There's Koltyr, there's Desolation, and there's Nexus. Here's the thing. Koltyr, when Koltyr was a low pop continent, it was bad. It was really bad. And Desolation has only been used in Outfit Wars, and so is Nexus. However, here's some food for thought. See, this is a terrible fight. What if... Because here's the thing, with the last Outfit Wars, we know that they can put 2 factions against each other. We know it's possible in the game code, as proven by Nexus in the last season of Outfit Wars. Hello there. So, what if, when server pop was below maybe 200 or 250 players, the server would put everyone onto 2 teams. It doesn't matter what faction you're on, whatever. You just sort everyone into red versus blue. I don't really care. And you drop and you cycle between Nexus, Koltyr, and Desolation. Obviously, you would need to rework Koltyr and Desolation to work in a 1v1 environment and to be good for off hours. But if you have less than 200 players, those, like, continents, mini-continents, whatever you want to call them, they go completely unused. Outside of Desolation and Nexus being Outfit Wars and Koltyr just being banished to the Shadow Realm. Why not make those continents useful again by making them off-hours continents designed to handle low player counts? After all, Desolation and Nexus are already designed for low player counts. They've been built around Outfit Wars. So why not turn them logically into off-hours continents where you can get good fights going that don't demand a high players count? Which would make off-hours significantly more fun to play and make people more willing to stay on, and therefore you might have longer prime times of sorts because off-hours would be better to play in and wouldn't just be go to Nascents. It's just an idea, and I'm sure it would take a lot of work to figure out how to sort everyone onto one of, say, red versus blue. Obviously, freelance NSO already exists in the code, but otherwise you'd have, before, like, Outfit Wars, you'd either sign up on, say, like, NC or TR, and then you'd just be red versus blue. But we know that code is possible. We know that's in the game for 1v1s to exist. So why not make off hours better by just allowing you, or rather, if you're below 200, 250 players, whatever, we can come up with an artificial count later. Chuck everyone there, red versus blue, here's Nexus, here's Desolation, here's Koltyr. Obviously redesign Koltyr a Desolation, but cycle through those continents on maybe like an hour interval, just to create good fights and fun. It doesn't need to be super, like, amazing play. It just needs to be fun off hours with interesting fights that support low player counts well. Which would, in my opinion, make off hours significantly more fun to play. And I would argue, personally, from my point of view, I would call it a good use of dev time. Because ultimately, outside of primetime PlanetSide, let's face it, off hours for most players are not very fun. It's just generally not an enjoyable environment because you basically just get chucked into a center base with X amount of players, and it's not a good fight because most of these bases were never ever designed for this amount of players, and you fight at the same damn ones every time. So it's just not enjoyable. So, you rework the 3 unused continents, you make them 1v1s, they're already designed for low pop to an extent. There you go, you have perfect off-hours continents that would be fun to play. That would work as 1v1 continents because that's already possible in the code, and that way you wouldn't have shitty 3-way fights like go to Cerro, dipshit, or go to Ascent, dipshit, or go to Crown, dipshit, where 1 or 2 factions are always at an extreme disadvantage, creating a bad fight. Obviously, I can't show you Nexus, Desolation, or Koltyr because I don't have footage of them, and they're not exactly easily accessible either. But, do you see my point? Making off hours more fun would dramatically improve the game's overall health by... how am I going to phrase this? It kind of incentivizes players to log in during off hours, or rather not incentivizes, but it would create more of a reason to do so because you would know the fights would probably be pretty okay if you had, say, 100 players on each faction and you were at Nexus. Then you'd have probably a couple good fights, or even if you just have the one big farm, at least the content would cycle every hour or so that you could just move on, go next. Recycle pop. I don't think it's a bad idea. It might be the most brain-dead take you've ever heard, but I don't think it's a bad idea. But that's what I just wanted to talk about today, because I thought about it last night on stream, and I thought I'd make a video on it, because I think it deserves its own little discussion. So, please tell me what you think. If I'm an absolute brain-dead tool, please tell me that. If you think my idea is decent, please tell me that. And thank you all, and I will see you all later tonight for a stream. Bye.